TIFU, and almost died in the most hilarious way possible. Not today as per usual, but 18 years ago. I had moved to California a few years earlier. A few blocks away was a grocery store. In that store was a toy section. Back then 1998. It just had an assortment of coloring books and some squeaky toys. Rubber animals you would squeeze to make a noise. I would grab the squeak thing from those toys. They are the size of a pill or vitamin. If I placed it in my mouth and pulled it to the back I could talk while making a stupid noise. One time heading back to my friend's, after grabbing a fresh squeaker I accidentally chortle snorted and inhaled the thing. I'm behind the store now ready to hop the stone wall back home. No one is around, nor will there be till the trash is dropped at end of night. So I'm choking, but instead of a gasp it's a loud squeak. I'm grasping at my chest. My vision fades, and I fall down on my back. This dislodges the squeaker with one more loud. After a moment on the ground I get up and go home, deciding I'll never take a squeaker again. TIFU, by bringing a new water bottle to the gym. This is actually a YIFU. I'm training for a half marathon, but I'm pretty new to running. Yesterday was only the second time in my adult life ever on a treadmill. I usually run outdoors. I figured I was a pro after figuring most of the buttons out a couple weeks ago, so I headed back to train while avoiding the weather. I thought I was really prepared this time because I brought headphones and a bigger water bottle. Ain't nobody got time to stop and fill that thing halfway through. I start my run and it's going fine. After about a mile I decide to grab a swig of water from my very full water bottle while running at a 6 miles per hour pace. I carefully open the lid and begin to bring the water bottle toward my face when I realize this is not going to work. I usually use a disposable water bottle with a small opening and I'm able to easily drink while running. The bottle I brought today has an opening the size of a normal drinking glass. This is not ideal for drinking while running. As this revelation dawns on me, panic begins to set in. Did I mention this is a tiny gym and there are about 6 people in my close proximity working out and there are mirrors everywhere? I cannot drink my water and I'm going too fast to set it down without it sloshing everywhere. I realize that I need to make a quick decision about how to remedy this situation without spilling water everywhere. Like the pro I'm at treadmills, I remember that there is a pause button and I desperately reach out and touch it and begin to feel relief as I stop running, but the machine does not stop running. Apparently pause means begin to slow down and then stop in a little while. My brain and body could not come together to figure this mess out and somehow I end up going down on my left knee while holding my stupid effing glorious water bottle up toward the heavens. I slowly slide off the back of the treadmill while maintaining this pose. When I reach the bottom, I hop up, take a swig of water, and start running again like nothing happened. Everyone else around me also continues on without acknowledging my F up except the girl a few treadmills to my left who is stifling a laugh. I then proceed to run the next 8 miles I need to run with a pretty gnarly brush burn on my ankle. TLDR fell off a treadmill in a slow motion genuflect. Worst injury from running yet is caused by a refined treadmill. TIFU by closing down I-40, the sheriff was shot. This happened 6 years ago. I used to sail sunfish. To keep my mast from scratching the hull of the boat during transport I would tape together pool noodles and wedge them underneath as a cushion. I usually tie them all on good, but I noticed after this drive that I lost one. No big deal, it's just foam noodles. A couple days after this, someone with prior military service thought that my noodles looked like an improvised explosive device. I-40 was closed for the whole afternoon. Also, somehow the sheriff shot himself in the arm. The bomb squad robot shot my noodle bomb with a jet of high pressure water and it went flying up in the air. I guess you could say I'm the noodle bomber. TIFU, by releasing a bunch of eels in the kitchen. This happened when I was a kid, but the F up came back to haunt me not too long ago. When I was young I was extremely infatuated with animals. I was forever bringing home stray cats and injured birds. My dad, a rough trawler fisherman all his life, couldn't understand his daughter's obsession with animals. He believes animals are for food, not cuddling. And this is how what is now known in our family as the eel incident came to be. One day my dad brought home a bucket full of eels he caught from our local lake together with one of our neighbors. Smoked eel is a local delicacy where I'm from, so that what my dad and his mate planned to do with their catch. They were pretty chuffed with themselves, cracked a few celebratory beers outside whilst cranking up the smoker. Whilst my dad and his friend were getting drunk outside, I decided to have a peek at their catch in the kitchen. I peeled the lid off the bucket and was surprised to discover the 30+ eels in the bucket were still alive, just wriggling and sliding in a giant slime ball. My bleeding heart immediately kicked in. Those poor eels. They don't even have water. How are they supposed to breathe? So I sprung into action and threw a pan full of water in the bucket. The eels liked it. They wiggled more. Another pan. More movement. I was delighted. Until one of the bigger eels broke loose from the bowl and managed to slide over the edge of the bucket. Drats. I hadn't anticipated that, and I realized I was in lots of trouble if my dad found out I tampered with his catch. So I tried to grab the eel and put it back with his slimy friends. Great plan, except that holding a slippery eel is a lot like, well, holding a slippery eel. After many frantic attempts, I finally got a good hold of the creature and quickly tried to put it back in the bucket. But a fatal combination of my panic, clumsiness and complete lack of coordination, which I still suffer from to this day, I accidentally kick over the bucket. Eels everywhere. At this moment my dad hears the commotion and opens up the door to find me frozen in the middle of a quickly spreading carpet of eels, whilst still desperately clutching one individual. He quickly responds and frantically starts to catch the eels before they spread further. But, again, eels are mighty slippery, and it didn't help that I added 2 pan loads of water to the slimy mess that is now our kitchen floor. Right behind my dad is our neighbor, who was a bit tipsy after the celebration beers. He immediately comes to my dad's assistance, but forgets to close the door behind him, allowing his feisty little Jack Russell Terrier to come in. The dog snaps into full possessed kill mode, catching and shaking the eels at a demonic speed. Slime and fish guts splash up the kitchen walls. The neighbor starts yelling at the dog. I start wailing. My mum comes running in and starts screaming when she sees the mayhem that is her kitchen. In all this confusion, my dad loses his balance on the slimy floor, slips over, crushes 3 eels and breaks a finger. I can't remember how it all ended because I was sent off to my room and had to stay there for 2 weeks. I do remember the kitchen stinking like fish guts for months after, no matter how much my mum scrubbed it, and me hearing about it every time she did. The eel incident happened about 20 years ago. 5 years ago my parents sold their house and the new owners did some renovations to the kitchen. Behind one of the cupboards they discovered what they thought were the remains of a snake, which is pretty unlikely since my parents live in Holland. When my dad came over to inspect, he found that it was in fact the mummified remains of a jetaway eel. TLDR, me trying to help the bucket load of eels causes great pain and suffering for everyone involved, except the dog. The dog had a fat time. Edit. First gold. Thanks stranger. I'd give you an eel bouquet if I could. TIFU. By nailing my crush with a football and making the whole school hate me. I was in Petterday, playing football with the boys' class. The girls' class was on the side of the field, warming up to run laps. Only one girl caught my attention, though. My crush, leaning on the chain link fence. As usual, she was too cool to be there. As I half-assedly played the game, I decided I'd get her attention by tossing the football nearby her, then coolly saying hi when I went to retrieve it. Maybe that would blossom into a conversation later. I was so excited. What a great idea. Well, the moment I got that ball, I sent it flying in her direction with all my strength. Oops, I realized too late. I forgot to make that look like an accident. Also, that throw was way too close. It's going to hit her. She noticed too. Directly in the ball's path with no time to run, she covered her face. It nailed her in the groin. Everyone went silent as she collapsed to the grass in a ball. They stared at her, then at me. They did not look happy. I was overloaded with horror between my instant pariah status and the ghastly fate of this poor girl's womanhood. F this. I took off sprinting right to the junior parking lot. PE is the last class of the day, so I jumped in my car and got the heck out of there. I was sobbing when I got home. My mother asked me why, and I told her that I stopped at Taco Bell on the way home and got jalapenos in my eye. TLDR, tried to impress a girl, hurt her in a sensitive area, Hated by all. School tomorrow.